Folks, welcome back. We're going to be getting into, I think that was actually the thing that sent us here, but we're going to be getting into the grand final right now. Super Frogs up against the boys. Who's going to take it? We'll find out shortly. This one's going to be a best of 7, second grand final of the day. My name is Rich. I'm joined by Zico, Super Tees, and Venruki. And let's talk about the history between these teams. 6 cups so far. They've been the top 2 teams thus far. What does the head-to-head look like in your mind?
I mean, Super Frogs has been the team that's been pulling ahead a little bit, but at the same time, the Warlock nerf is really, really beneficial towards the boys. If you guys didn't know, Demon armor got nerfed a little bit, and that's going to be reducing the physical armor of the Warlock, which means he's going to be taking more damage from physical sources. Now, who has a lot of physical damage on their team? The boys. They play pretty much only melee cleaves so far in the tournament. Been playing a lot of DK and Windwalker, and even seeing them earlier with that Demon Hunter, they're looking super good, and they should have the edge going into this one. I want to see if Super Frogs potentially has cooked up some new compositions maybe in the kitchen.
Yeah, the composition kitchen, definitely the place where dreams can be made or dreams can die. And if they haven't cooked up something a little bit spicy.
I didn't know things came to die in a kitchen.
In the bakery, they might.
It's not easy out here.
G-pies are deadly.
G-pies are very deadly indeed, but also very delicious. Venruki, who do you think comes out on top in this one?
That's a good question. I feel like with the changes that have been implemented, I still believe that Mage Lock Druid can have the edge, but the way Chanimal has been kiting, it's been really, really nice with Wealthy Man. I kind of wonder if the boys are expecting them to lock that in blind, because if they are, I don't know. I feel like it is going to come down to that same matchup we've seen time and time again. And the boys definitely, they have the opportunity to win, especially with some of the nerfs to the Destruction Warlock. But at the end of the day, I still have to favor the Super Frogs in that matchup.
I also do want to say I just got confirmation from everybody in the back. A real quick shout out. 6 weeks, you know, you're away from home, you're traveling. And it's always just such a wonderful experience because we all get to, first of all, be together on the desk, but there are so many faces that you don't see necessarily on the stream that make this show possible. And it really is like having a second family out here. So thank you to everybody who's in the back, making sure that everything works. And also thank you for the update as well. We're going to have a tiebreaker match between our 2 squads fighting to get to land, and that's going to happen right after the grand final. So we have that bonus round that's going to happen. And I remember the first time we had cups last year, we were right here, and the same thing happened. Last time it was in the EU. Reformed managed to get out on top due to family members literally gatekeeping inside of a tournament. And we had that rematch. Reformed wins. They barely make it to land, and then they win the entire thing. We're going to have to see if North America can deliver that as well, or if that's going to be something that EU will keep as an accolade just for that region. But I'm excited for this one. I'm very excited for this one. I can't believe 6 weeks has already gone by. It's been a good time. It's been nice to see all you guys again.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Certainly does. Certainly does. You're a good roommate, too. You are.
Even though you make fun of me for having no mustache, you're a good roommate, too, Rich.
I've had a good time. I've had a really good time.
Well, now he doesn't have a mustache either, Sid, so...
Yeah, now we're on even playing field. No longer can I be mocked.
Except you have a beard.
All right. Well, now I'm on the bad end of the totem pole. But, Sid, when we do look at this matchup, though, who do you think comes out on top? And also, for anybody at home, let's refresh everybody's memory on where these 2 teams currently do stand as far as rankings are concerned.
The Super Frogs are the #1 point holder right now, and will remain so, as there's only a 20-point difference between first and second, which is still important. And it means that the boys need consistent top finishes if they want to overthrow that point standing. They also really rely on the Super Frogs to kind of have a blowout in one of the cups in summer season. Although these 2 teams could easily win the whole thing in the spring finals and just qualify directly, and then their points are suddenly irrelevant. So either side competing with each other may not matter if they can win at the LAN, but of course facing Europe, it's not going to be so simple and it's not going to be so easy. But obviously the boys, since the recent changes last week, look to try and overthrow the Super Frogs here today. The last time we'll see these teams go head to head before they play on the stage live.
And also I do want to mention that we have a similar scenario in both NA and EU, with the 2 top teams just consistently making it to the grand final, and you can only get a 20-point jump a 20-point jump if that scenario keeps playing out. If you are in second place and you are going up against that team in first week again, and only getting like, it's just not enough. It's going to be nearly impossible to overtake teams. As of right now, I believe there's a 100-point differential between these two squads, and interesting calls coming out. Zico, what caught your eye?
Well, first of all, we have the Mistweaver versus Rested Druid matchup. And I said earlier that I wasn't really rating Goreki's Mistweaver Monk to the same level of Lunis. Let's see if he can prove me wrong. And the other thing is, of course, Thugonomics is going to be brought in, and that is a good response to a lot of these wizards, because this composition has a lot of burst damage and a lot of stops on the side of the boys. So the boys really throwing a curveball here, then Super Frog's kind of just taking the bait.
I really wonder if the boys should be implementing the Elemental Shaman Destruction Warlock composition. Smexon has been playing Elemental Shaman a lot. I think that would be a respectable answer for the Frost Mage Destruction Warlock. Cubsy's having a field day, re-stealthing constantly and stunning effectively the entire team of the boys with that. Gorecki moves in, secures crowd control. It was a preemptive Iron Bark that should deny the ice block. Lots of damage. Wealthy Man gets Ring of Peace back into the fight in line of sight of Thugonomics, and I do like that synergy, the Ring of Peace from the Monk, allowing the knockback effect so that if someone tries to escape out of line of sight, they simply can't, and then Thugonomics can rain down terror with Chaos Bolts, and this maneuver could be what allows the boys to find victory in game number 1, and winning the blind is very important when these teams are so diverse in their compositions.
I'm actually kind of surprised Gorecki decided to lock in the Mistweaver Monk instead of the Restoration Druid. I feel like with the Feral Affinity, it could have been a decent answer to help assist his team with additional stuns and more damage, but opting not to do so, going with the Way of the Crane, Mistweaver Monk instead, pushing forward. Chun-Li taking a whole bunch of damage there by Chanimal, but Diffused Magic saves the day, but Chun-Li only has one more defensive cooldown left. That Touch of Karma, and it actually gets traded out. And there's still Dark Soul for Chanimal. There's still Icy Veins for Wealthy Man. Things are looking good for the Super Frogs. Chun-Li a very vulnerable target right now. Thugonomics in a good position to just smoke Chanimal. A lot of damage going to be used. Unending Resolve forced to be traded out. It's a really long cooldown Chanimal just used in order to survive that last attack.
Very interested to see if they can manage to pull off a kill on Chun-Li moving forward now with Icy Veins and Dark Soul. Huge damage already. Chun-Li retreats back to the pillar with Gorecki, looking to reconvene. Another disadvantage of bringing in the Mistweaver Monk is you are susceptible to interrupts, of which there are 2 on the team of Super Frogs, the Spell Lock of Chanimal and the Counter Spell of Wealthy Man. Although these interrupts will likely have to be used on Thugonomics, as he is such a threat with Fear and Chaos Bolt. So I'm curious to see where they decide to place their interrupts, currently both on cooldown, so Chun-Li should be able to recover even though he dips very low on health in this position. Perhaps Super Frogs should be rotating those interrupts a bit differently, trying to save one, potentially to net a kill by being able to interrupt Gorecki. That could have been a moment of opportunity to kill Chun-Li, but they don't find it. Cycloning him up instead. Gorecki looked like he wanted to cross midfield, but then immediately pulled back as Chun-Li got cycloned. Chanimal gets denied. Wealthy Man double blinks in, secures the Polymorph for the team. Good crowd control. He's full on icicles, dropping all 5 now on Chun-Li, but not scratching his health. Denied on the follow-up with that leg sweep. Thugonomics interrupting Chanimal, but Gorecki was not able to make it back to the pillar in time. That now means that Thugonomics can rain down that Gladiator's Maledict and Chaos Bolts. Cubsy denies the kill with Iron Bark. The boys then switch targets to Chanimal, trying to create pressure in multiple places. Good tactic to burn Restoration Druid's mana, as Life Bloom is expensive, and to switch it onto multiple targets is going to be an inefficient way to heal. So the boys could find victory through mana by switching targets if they continue to do this.
Yep, definitely. Have to see how mana plays out for both of these teams. Cubsy has been known to sneak away and get drinks in the past, able to recover his mana quite heavily. Thugonomics in midfield right now, looking for some damage, gets bashed up by Cubsy. That's denied. Wealthy Man now looking to get aggressive on a Thugonomic. And I think Chanimal and Wealthy Man, they might at some point be able to just crowd control up Chun-Li. And if Thugonomics is in midfield, that's a great target for them to just throw their spells at. Really tax Gorecki's mana quite a bit. Cubsy in the meantime, I think he's in the backfield looking to potentially get out of combat, sneak away for a drink and recover his mana, but no, Chun-Li shuts that down with a paralysis. So he looks to get some damage rolling, but so far, Chun-Li really hasn't been able to get too much done. No Touch of Death available for another minute and 10 seconds, and until dampening, I don't feel like Chanimal is really that great of a target for them. Might have to start turning their attention onto Wealthy Man, but the problem with that is once you leave Wealthy Man or once you tunnel down Wealthy Man, you Chanimal alone. That's going to be really difficult to deal with. Chanimal's going to have a spammable Fear, a lot of damage, Shadow Fury that the boys will have to deal with, so it's kind of a double-edged sword. Really, the boys have to pick their poison. Do they go after the mage, or do they go after the warlock? Which one is going to be limited in damage? Which one is going to get shut down on their crowd control? Those are the things you have to consider as the boys moving forward.
Moving into the spring finals, I think it's important to take into consideration the Super Frogs are pretty much the only roster to run this Frost Mage Destruction Warlock Restoration Druid, or at least to the same level that they are running it. And perhaps it could be the X factor for their team to find victory and qualify to the World Finals. The boys need to try and craft an answer. They're going to lead in the blind pick with Windwalker, Destruction Warlock, a fairly well-balanced composition, both bringing in ranged and physical damage to the fray. Good support with Ring of Peace as well, but it may not even be enough to overcome the overwhelming pressure that the Super Frogs can build later into dampening. And then where do you go if you're the boys? Do you continue trying this Windwalker Warlock, or do you tag in Spexen on the Elemental Shaman, try and bring in a Wizard to battle the Wizards? Infernals have landed for Chanimal. He's going to be ramping up for huge damage. Very important as a Destruction Warlock after Infernals that you use Rain of Fire. This is an instant cast way to spend your Soul Shards, and during your Infernals with the Grimoire Supremacy talented, it increases the damage of your next Chaos Bolt. Then after you've ramped up your Chaos Bolt damage, you pop your Dark Soul. So Chanimal has Dark Soul currently active, and his next Chaos Bolt will be as big as it pretty much can get. And it looks like they're trying to stall it out, and they've managed to stall it out until Dark Soul has faded. So Chanimal's ramp was completely destroyed here by the boys. They've definitely done their homework, and they've shut him down on this push.
Yep, Thugonomics still in a decent position here at the pillar, trying to avoid as much damage as possible while also being a turret for his team. Finds one big Chaos Bolt, it gets reflected. Nicely done by Chanimal. That Nether Ward was beautiful. Gorecki, as a response, has to trade out the Life Cocoon. Looking at mana once again, you can see Gorecki on the Mistweaver Monkey actually has a big lead here. 8% dampening. What is Chun-Li going to be able to get done? He's just getting controlled so much in midfield. He's not feared. He's polymorphed. He's caught into roots. And Thugonomics and Gorecki, they haven't been able to back him up too much. I think Thugonomics is actually going after the pet right now of Chanimal. If he can shut that down, potentially free up Gorecki to get out of combat and look for some drinks to reset his mana. And oh no, this is bad. Very bad for the Super Frogs right now. Very bad for the boys. Cubsy actually sat down, completely recovered all of his mana. This is a little bit disastrous for the boys. That was one of their main win conditions. But a big offensive push here onto Chanimal. They might be able to take him down. He catches a huge heal by Cubsy, using that Innervate to make all his heal spells free of cost. He can use very expensive healing to quickly catch up Chanimal and Wealthy Man's HP.
Gorecki still has Way of the Crane. Maybe they're looking for an all-in Crane attack to try and take out Super Frogs in game number 1. Gorecki's held on to it for some time. The difficulty of that is that when you move in with Way of the Crane, you're susceptible to crowd control, of which the Super Frogs have a plethora of. So Gorecki will have to navigate through with his teammates interrupting these crowd control abilities so that he can connect with Way of the Crane. But then if they focus all their interrupts on crowd control, then there's big damage abilities such as Chaos Bolt and Ebon Bolt and Ray of Frost that they will not have interrupts for, although Way of the Crane should be enough to heal through that. So I want to see the boys coordinate together, protect Gorecki during Way of the Crane, make a big push, try to get an ice block, maybe some more Gladiators, Maledicts combos as well. This is a good way to overwhelm a Restoration Druid's heal over time effects. So far we have not seen any big pushes from the boys, and they continue to fall behind.
Definitely, this is not looking that great for the boys. They lack control in this matchup. That's one of the benefits that Super Frogs has. With this Mage in this lock, they have spammable crowd control. They can just control up Chun-Li, deny a lot of the healing and damage that he has available. Chun-Li now getting bashed. Life Cocoon trades out from Gorecki. That was really nice control from Cubsy. Chun-Li traded out the Touch of Karma, and then before he could get topped off by Gorecki, Cubsy cycloned him, waiting out the duration of the Touch of Karma. Then a lot of burst damage came in, and because of that, Gorecki had to respond with the Life Cocoon. Now Chun-Li's a vulnerable target. No Touch of Karma, no Fortifying Brew once it fades. And then Chanimal and Wealthy Man can start really ripping in. We're at 22% dampening at this point in the game. It's going to be difficult for Gorecki to really heal through the damage that Wealthy Man and Chanimal have available, whereas for Super Frogs, they still have so much control in their favor, they can really limit the damage output the boys have available.
All right, let's see what they can get done. Mana's basically even at this point, with dampening ramping up to critical mass. Infernals have ran for Chanimal. He's ready to go. He's got Dark Soul and Icy Veins comboed together. Big Chaos Bolt straight to Chun-Li. If Diffuse Magic denies the follow-up damage for now. Way of the Crane, this is the push. This is what Gorecki has been waiting for. Can they disrupt the crowd control onto his Way of the Crane? No, Polymorph lands. Way of the Crane gets shut down. Thuganomics, though, looks to ramp up. He gets nether warded by Chanimal on that Chaos Bolt. Good reaction. Thuganomics is still continuing to ramp, though. Now popping the Dark Soul. These Chaos Bolts are huge. He's got Nether Ward up. They cannot be stopped. One Chaos Bolt connects. Not able to find the second, but they do manage to pull Unending Resolve from Chanimal, and he continues to fall behind. Perhaps the boys have opportunity here to kill Chanimal.
Yeah, definitely Chanimal. Vulnerable target right now in midfield. Can't really get away. Force Destruction, Warlock's armor was a little bit nerfed from that Demon Skin change in the last patch, so Chanimal definitely going to be a little bit more vulnerable to Chun-Li, but it still just doesn't seem like Chun-Li has the damage right now to get much done against Chanimal. Wealthy Man just spamming out Frostbolts, looking to reload that Frost Mage damage. Gorecki moves in, lands a full leg sweep. What is Chun-Li gonna do? He gets bashed into a pounce, has to shrink it out. No touch of karma. Chun-Li so vulnerable, gets Vortex back, flailing to survive in midfield. Gorecki luckily has the Life Cocoon as a safety net to keep him alive, but Chun-Li, that was way too aggressive. Has to trade out his entire defensive arsenal. Cubsy really punishing him. You can't blame him. He's trying to shut down the drink, but Cubsy easily punishes him with a double stun combo. Now Chun-Li still, he's got to be a little bit scared in this situation.
Yeah, how is he going to get out of it? Gorecki's only got enough mana for a couple more Ways of the Crane, and they've got maybe a little bit of a window of time to get a kill onto Chanimal, but they have to do it 4 times. Likely to be this composition for the rest of the series from the Super Frogs until the boys have a definitive answer. So, moving forward against all odds here, and so difficult even in game number 1, to do it 4 times is basically a feat of strength in this game at the moment. Dampening now at 36%. Gorecki's almost tapped. He's not got many more opportunities left. There's still a minute and 25 to let Unending Resolve to kill Chanimal. Chun-Li gets Mortal Coiled on the Fist of Fury. Chanimal with total shutdown. Goes for a Shadow Fury, gets Spell Locked, then goes for a Chaos Bolt, gets denied. Now Chaos Bolt's flying in from Thuganomics, 2 tagging in with that Gladiator's Maledict. A big push for the boys here, but Iron Bark of Cubsy appears to be more than enough to deflect.
That paralysis onto Cubsy. Chanimal taking some damage as you saw Gorecki use the last little bit of his mana for a Way the Crane push, but didn't get anything done. And once again, Super Frogs, they have the boys completely pinned up against the pillar. They're out of line of sight. They're trying to avoid damage, but this is not a situation you want to be in. As the boys, the Super Frogs, all their cooldowns are resetting. Look at Chanimal, only 40 seconds left on that Unending Resolve, and once that rotates back up off cooldown, it's going to be really difficult for them to push through that. In the meantime, Chun-Li just getting smoked. Diffuse Magic looking to be enough to run away. Does manage to get behind the pillar, but Ray of Frost still channeling. Chun-Li has to be a little bit careful, but you can't blame him. He's trying to start building some pressure for his team. It's just really difficult.
Yeah, that window of opportunity is going to be lost in 17 seconds from now when Unending Resolve becomes available. Thuganomics in trouble. Cubsy moves in, adding in that Feral Affinity spice. It is not so nice for Thuganomics. He ducks for cover. The entire team pillaring for their lives. Chun-Li as well now caught in center field. Chaos Bolt hits him. Stun connects. He pre-fortified Elixired right before Cubsy opened. That was nice moves by Chun-Li, soaks some hits and stays alive, but the whole team under fire. Huge flurry from Wealthy Man. Thuganomics takes that. 50% dampening incoming. Gorecki's completely tapped on mana. Nether Ward from Thuganomics desperately to stabilize, but Unending Resolve exchanged as well. Chaos Bolt trade, but Wealthy Man still got 2 ice blocks. There's no way you're killing him. Chun-Li in center field uses the Touch of Karma right as Infernals have landed. Maybe an opportunity for Chun-Li to go all in. He says, no way, I'm getting out of here, but now Thuganomics is left behind.
Yeah, Thuganomics caught in midfield, all snared up. Just a perfect target for Wealthy Man and Chanimal to take him down. And the boys, this answer does not seem to be good enough. They just cannot generate enough pressure with Chun-Li on that Windwalker Monk. He's getting controlled way too much. Chanimal still not super vulnerable to that Windwalker damage. And now, I think the Super Frogs need to find something else, or the boys need to figure out something else.
Is that how you feel, though? The composition is the problem. Do you want to see a different composition as well, Zico?
I want to see a different healer. I don't like the Mistweaver on large map. You can never push in. You can't get anything done. If he's a Feral Affinity Resto Druid like Cubsy, we know Gorecki plays it, and he plays it really well. You stay back, re-stealth, stun up everybody, open up opportunity for your team, disrupt the 2 free casting wizards. Because you're in stealth, they're not going to be able to fear you and annoy you when you're trying to cross the map and shut down drinks. is just way more effective on a map like this. On a small map where the druid can't drink, you're going to be way more mana effective.
Now, one of the compositions you said you really wanted to see was the Destruction Warlock Elemental Shaman Resto Druid. We do know that Smexon can play the Elemental Shaman. He's practiced it quite a bit. Is this something we need to see from the boys, and would that be a solid answer for what the Super Frogs has?
I think that would be a great answer. You have the Ele Shaman and the Warlock. They're going to make that Frost Mage life miserable, and I really don't see a good reason why you wouldn't pick it.
I think the only reason would be maybe if Smexon's focused on it less. In recent weeks. You think it's still strong?
Yeah, I think it's better than what they're running.
We've seen some not great Ele Shamans, though, too, recently. I think we've seen some Ele Shamans that, even in this tournament, looked a little bit lost. But every time we do see somebody who is rehearsed on an Ele Shaman, it's a force of nature, to be sure, Sid.
Yeah, definitely going to be playing with the elements on that Elemental Shaman, but maybe they don't have the reps on it. But other than that, like, I feel like they have to pull something else out, because that didn't look good.
Okay, so
that didn't look good.
Yeah, basically, though, the thing that was mentioned as well is even if you don't do a full compositional change, you still have the option of just switching your healer. And Goreki,
on large maps, on a small map, I think that's fine what they ran.
Okay, so it's only going to be on those large maps. We'll see what gets set up. The map has already been locked in. When you talk about Goreki on the Druid as well, he's the one who made Feral Affinity really popular for a lot of us as far as tournament play is concerned. He looked very good on it. I don't think he would shy away from it at all.
No, I think he'd be very comfortable with it, especially in this specific matchup. He's going to be able to get a lot of restelts off, especially if it is a large map, and he can move in. He can stun up Chanimal, stun up Wealthy Man without too much threat of really exposing himself. That's the main thing that's scary as a Feral Affinity Restoration Druid, is if you get targeted specifically by compositions like Windwalker, Death Knight, it's really hard to recover. But with what the Super Frogs have available, it's not nearly as scary. So I think he would be confident in picking those talents.
I think it's very plausible that we may see it come out here in the picks. And actually, it is going to be Chanimal on the Destruction Warlock, and Wealthy Man still going to be on that. Oh, okay. All right. Hook point, though. Do you think we can see Goreki stay on a monk in a scenario like this?
The thing about hook point is it's still very tricky. You can lose on the crowd control from the mage here. It's very easy to land CC on a monk in general, and on hook point it's a lot easier, but still I would rather see it here than on Nagran, if you put it that way. Preferably though, just play monk, Ellie, Destro. I want to see it.
Nexen, Elemental Shaman.
Nexen.
Right now.
Earthshock.
Grounding Totem, just
Light
all the good
lasso.
stuff. Yeah. Elemental Shamans have been seemingly really good, and they're not going to go for it. They are going to have Goreki go on the Restoration Druid. I just have doubt.
I don't mind it on this map, but it makes more sense to play that pick on the previous map and play the previous map's pick on this map. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Okay. That's an important thing to have in our minds as we do move forward in this series. Super Tease, what do you think?
I don't like it. I think that Super Frogs are going to probably take this. I believe the score is not...
It's incorrect.
Correct.
Yeah,
Super Frogs in the lead right now, and I think it's likely that they continue to establish it. I do think Smexon could be the X factor. Of course, we haven't seen the matchup play out, but after watching that last game, I didn't see really... There were moments where there's no ending resolve for 2 minutes, and they made 2 wave the crane pushes and did nothing. So they created the window of opportunity and took advantage of it twice and couldn't find a kill. That tells me that the composition is not favored. So I would like to see a different composition from the boys.
Yep.
Basically, if you have the monk here, the win condition that Super Frogs get is that, well, they can no longer play for the long dampening win on mana game, but instead they can just spam crowd control the monk and try to win that way on the Windwalker. Now, you remove that win condition from them, but the other win condition that you give them is, well, our druid can go out of mana and so can yours. So now both druids can go out of mana potentially, and we can lose on mana instead. So, yeah, I'm not sold, but I do understand why they go for it.
Well, we've also seen with teams of this caliber how much flux there can be inside of the best of 7. So this series is far from over, even if it does become a 2-0. And this day is actually far from over as well. We have this best of 7, and then after that we have I think you could potentially say the most impactful matchup of the day. I think that the last one, you can pretty much say that easily. It's going to be Colo versus Jamili. I don't know why I picked the two of them as the players as the headliner for that matchup, but we'll call that matchup Colo versus Jamili.
Okay.
I think we'll call it their grudge match.
Revenge.
Rivalry.
A heated rivalry. No friendly rivalry there.
What would you call it, Ven?
I'm just thinking.
Pure hatred.
I'm just thinking about the matchup. I think
Utter disgust in each other.
I don't think that's right. I think
It's
I think
also
these,
Ven's turn.
I think these players and these teams have the utmost respect for each other and their gameplay, and it's going to be an interesting series when we do eventually finish up this one between the boys and the
Are you sure you're talking about the same people?
I am. I'm very sure.
Okay.
The only shore that we're on is Hook Point. Super Frogs versus the boys. Super Frogs already going to be leading by 1, and this one promises to be absolutely outstanding. You can't be a chicken here when you've already come this far. This is for all of the marbles, first place of an entire region for Cup number 6.
There is no running away from this finale. The last time we will see the Super Frogs and the boys go head-to-head before the Spring International Finals. But after this, we do have a tiebreaker. The winner between Never Lucky and the Mew Mew Kitty Cats to qualify to that Spring Finals as well. So do not want to go anywhere. There is nothing but action-packed Warcraft for some time. Chanimal low on health, Chun-Li equally so, as both teams go all out initially in this game number 2.
And we already see an opening here for Chun-Li. He's going to go and take it. Touch of Karma activated, Touch of Death activated as well onto Chanimal. No Iron Bark available, and that could potentially be the unending resolve. Let's see if Wealthy Man can weather the storm. Does it look like he is able to right now with that Icy Veins? Chanimal being very greedy, holding on to this cooldown for now, but it could potentially pay out. That Dark Soul is active as well, so Super Frogs are using a lot of their offense to kind of just stabilize and save a lot of those defensive cooldowns that they have. Very, very nice that they managed to get away without using the unending resolve there.
Yeah, nice trade there in exchange. Super Frogs, although are behind a mana and on Hook Point, it will be difficult to find opportunities to drink. Good crowd control initiated by Gorecki, but his team is crowd controlled as well, and they can't attack. Chun-Li in Fear, Thugonomics and Polymorph. So even though Cubsy was cycloned, Chun-Li and Thugonomics couldn't attack, so no damage to trade back, and that means the team will be safe. And this is the good teamwork of the Super Frogs as they set up a kill on Chun-Li. Fortified Elixir denies it, but I do really enjoy watching the crowd control coordination of Chanimal and Wealthy Man. Even though this composition almost looks unstoppable, we've only ever really seen them run it. So they run it definitely at the highest caliber, and I'm curious to see how it fares head-to-head with Europe in the Spring Finals.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see, as this is our final cup before the Spring LAN, and both of these teams want to snag a win on that final cup so they can go for that big momentum. And now we see Chun-Li once again activating his Touch of Karma, trying to get the Iron Bark used. Cubsy caught up in a Cyclone. Chanimal deflects with a Fear, gets a Chaos Bolt at the back of that though. It seems to be absorbed by the Touch of Karma. Chanimal using his Reflect as well. Not going to catch the Cyclone. Gorecki manages to fake that out and then get another Cyclone here onto Chanimal. On that Iron Bark cooldown, Cubsy in the mana department is not looking great, and like we mentioned, Druids don't have an easy time drinking on this map, and we see Cubsy now caught up in a Fear. Chanimal in a spell lock. Thugonomics is looking for the big Chaos Bolts here, not going to be able to find it. Nice counter spell from Wealthy Man.
Cubsy actually gets hibernated, but no real damage to follow it up. Now stunning Cubsy, maybe they attack him, sets him up for a Fear, but on diminishing return from Thugonomics. Potentially, I see Cubsy as a target for the Windwalker Destruction Warlock on Hook Point. If they can make a swap, catch him in cat form and burst him down, maybe there is potential there. Chun-Li keeping Cubsy in combat with that Crackling Jade Lightning. It's all about denying drinks. Gorecki looks like he's trying to sneak away for one right now, and Chanimal is trying to chase him down. Not going to be moving too fast on the Warlock, but does deny the drink regardless. Mana lead for the boys. The small map is paying off.
Yeah, and now we see a target swap here onto Wealthy Man. I gotta say, before dampening, I prefer it if the Super Frog, the boys, go after Wealthy Man on the side of the Super Frogs. I think that netting yourself an ice block and just applying more pressure to that mage is definitely going to be key in terms of burning out Cubsy's mana and also just controlling the pressure. Now we do see Chanimal going to be caught up in that that Mortal Coil into that leg sweep. Kabzi has a lot of work to do. He activates the Innovate, gets Cyclone on it though by Gorecki. Gorecki looking to Cyclone the Trinket. Kabzi though managing to outrange it, but Gorecki's gonna get that low Cyclone onto Chanimal. Gonna pause out his HP for now. That push nets them that Gladiator's Medallion, and now we see another swap onto Wealthy Man. You can see the boys are definitely playing for the mana lead. Gorecki now in stealth looking for Kabzi, going for that Cyclone again. Is it off the R? It's going to be a full Cyclone. This could potentially be an Ice Block, Sid.
I think it easily could. Ice Barrier absorbing a huge amount of damage and managing to hold out for now, but Gorecki's Restoration Druid is phenomenal. It's leaps and bounds better than his Mistweaver, especially in this matchup, and perhaps him not just locking it in game number 1 may be the factor that costs them the whole series. He's been getting great crowd control. He is the initiator. He's also got the mana lead. The map is well selected, and things are actually looking solid for the boys overall. Now the question then becomes, what do they do on the larger maps when the Super Frogs lock in that territory? Do we then see Smexen come in on Elemental Shaman? I would like to see that, especially on something like Tolvaron Arena, but on the small map, the boys are owning right now. Gorecki again with 3 Cyclones, rotates over to Chanimal at low health. Cubsy's now got to time his heals after that. Gorecki gets counterspelled though. Could be an opening for Wealthy Man to bounce back. Chanimal leaves the Cyclone. Mortal Coil, huge heal from that. Chanimal recovers and stays in it. Gorecki now Cyclone, and Chun-Li could be in trouble.
Yeah, and that was actually a Cyclone onto Chanimal, onto Chun-Li's Touch of Death. A little bit preemptive on that one, but it's looking bad for the Super Frogs overall. Kabzi is running very, very low on mana. We see Chanimal again tanking another Dark Soul Chaos Bolt to the face. Wealthy Man, though, looking to deflect here with his Icy Veins. Gorecki just chasing Kabzi around, looking for that rake stun. He's gonna go for the Cyclone as well at the back of that. He manages to land it. Nice fear into Paralyze on Wealthy Man. And Thugonomics is teeing up big time here onto Chanimal, who's caught up in that bash stun as well. The entire team of Super Frogs is just being stunned up by Gorecki here as we see him caught up in that fear, but they did net themselves an unending resolve here. Super Frogs really don't have much life left here.
No, they do not. Dampening is kicked in. There's a massive mana lead for the side of the boys, and everything is set up for them to win here. Gorecki tries to sneak in a Hibernate. Cubsy was locked in the room with that Ring of Peace into an Ursul's Vortex, into a potential stun. That crowd control chain from the boys right now into Cubsy is so perfect. Cycloned on the Trinket, but I think Iron Bark should be enough with the peels coming out from the Super Frogs, but this is like a completely different team we're seeing from the boys in game number 2, and I almost never want to see Gorecki off of his Druid.
Yeah, and now we see Gorecki getting punished, though. He's going to hold on to that Gladiator's Medallion, and that's another thing that he's so good at. He knows when he can hold on to his cooldowns. And less experienced Druid for sure would have used his Gladiator's Medallion there and actually left an opening for the Super Frogs. Now he's still going to have that, and he's also going to shut down that drink, but we see Thugonomics taking huge amounts of damage.
Oh, the Super Frogs took the battle back. Cubsy catches him in a stun. Cyclones him at low health, denying both the defense of the Unending Resolve and the Iron Bark. Cubsy now battling back, showing that he is also a top contender for the Restoration Druid class in the North American region. Now stunning Gorecki. Thugonomics holds on by a thread. Chanimal going for those Chaos Bolts, gets Mortal Coiled away. Thugonomics banishes the Fell Hunter to go for a cast, but Wealthy Man's there to back him up. Thugonomics then abandons that push. Line of sighting some damage while he's interrupted. Good positioning, but Chanimal then follows up with the Infernals. Looking to ramp up here. Where's the Rain of Fire? Needs to be dropping that Rain of Fire soon to continue ramping up these Infernals to get big damage moving forward. Who's going to be the target? We saw Gorecki get blasted earlier on, but he's at the pillar. Chun-Li sees it coming. He knows that Chanimal is ramped up. He's going to touch with Karma before a Chaos Bolt is even attempted to be cast, just to stay alive and stay in the fight. Now Cubsy, though, caught in crowd control, and the boys look to swing back for victory. If they can keep it going, there's no crowd control to follow up. Cubsy gets out. 7 more seconds on his Iron Bark. Should be enough to stabilize. Where's Gorecki? Is he in stealth trying to drink? Mana evens out. It's anyone's game.
Yeah, and this is the win condition we were talking about. Super Frogs can win on mana now that they're not playing against that Mistweaver. There's also an opening onto Chun-Li. I'm going to see Chanimal and Wealthy Man go after Chun-Li and try to take him out before that next touch of Karma is available. And Thugonomics also has his Dark Soul available. He needs to get a big, juicy Chaos Bolt onto Chanimal before that 35-second mark, when that Unending Resolve is going to be available for Chanimal. And now we see Thugonomics caught up in that Mortal Coil Chanimal line of sight, realizing that that's the next big threat. Before that Unending Resolve is up, the Touch of Death will not be available for Chun-Li, as we see Wealthy Man caught up in yet another Cyclone. Cubsy, though, completely tapped. He's gonna look to be paralyzed here, actually, potentially into a Rake Stun, actually a Bash Stun by Gorecki. Can he follow it up with a Cyclone here? We see Thugonomics going for the Chaos Bolt. He lands it onto Wealthy Man. Potentially an Ice Block here, Sid.
All right, let's see if they can get it. The boys try and stay in it. The mana lead is basically lost, and Dark Soul activated. Chanimal will be a force to be reckoned with. Chun-Li, the target. He's trying to retreat away, actually denying the drink. He's caught, though. He's snared up. There's Chaos Bolts flying. One connects. Chun-Li fortified elixirs, gets stunned. He's got Touch of Death. This is it. Chun-Li has to get a kill in 2 more seconds on Chanimal through Iron Bark. I don't think he's going to be able to do it. Chanimal gates away, or sorry, Chun-Li gates away, able to line of sight those Gliders Maledicts as Super Frogs begin to counterattack. Chun-Li holds on, Gurecki jumps in. They keep needing to deny Cubsy's drinks. They manage to do it. Chun-Li is just not recovering. Dampening is so high. Likely that we see Touch of Karma here shortly. He's holding onto it as long as he can. He would like to exchange it for a cooldown, but there's no cooldowns to exchange it. He barely gets it off right before that Shadow Fury. We now see Cubsy locked down in paralysis. Any crowd control to follow up. A Cyclone. Cubsy trinkets out of that to stay ahead of the damage at this point. Damage is more valuable than healing. You need to stay ahead of it if you want to find victory. Chun-Li is the most vulnerable on the map, and suddenly the Super Frogs have taken this game into their own hands.
Yeah, and now we see the Innervate is really the only line of defense left for the boys. After that, the win condition that we've been talking about is going to start to favor the Super Frogs. They have all of the momentum now. Gurecki is looking for a drink, but they're going to have an easy time shutting that down. Wealthy Man gating forward to shut that down. He gets him out of stealth, and Chanimal going to be very, very safe right now. Might have to activate his Unending Resolve, actually. He might be doing it too late here. He's going to get the Immolate off. Chun-Li, no defense available. Thugonomics caught up in that polymorph, and we're going to see Chanimal potentially going for a big Chaos Bolt here. Chun-Li for sure the target of choice. The Infernals have landed. This could be it for Chun-Li. Cubsy still with his Innovate available. He's going to make sure that his entire team is topped off. Wealthy Man though, no ice block.
Wealthy Man with no ice blocks, and Gurecki's jumping into the fight. Ring of Peace bounces Wealthy Man into it. Cubsy gets cycloned. Everything is set up for the boys to find victory in game number 2 as Gurecki could be the final bite to get himself victory. Too much damage and no mana to deal with it. They polymorph up Chun-Li. Gurecki needs to dispel this. He's actually going for maybe a re-stealth. Chun-Li's just trying to end this. How is Wealthy Man staying alive? There's basically nothing left at 36% dampening. Chun-Li should just go all in for the kill. There's nothing left. Iron Bark in 6. He activates it onto Wealthy Man now. That ice barrier, huge absorb. Chun-Li secures crowd control for the team. Thugonomics just wants to get a Chaos Bolt off at any moment. Infernals in 2. If he can get those Infernals down with Touch of Death, there's absolutely no way that Wealthy Man will survive. Chun-Li rolls over. He's on Polymorph Diminishing Return. Now on Fear Diminishing Return. There's no crowd control for Chun-Li. If he can get onto Wealthy Man, he Ring of Pieces Wealthy Man out into open, but Chun-Li then gets stunned. Chaos Bolts are flying in. They've got all the cooldowns. Why aren't they just going for it? Why are they going after Chanimal? He has Unending Resolve to trade. The Wealthy Man gets stacked up. Chun-Li moves over. Why are they still not going for it? Cold Snap available. Wealthy Man might be able to survive. Chun-Li needs to make a decision soon. He's waiting far too long. Thugonomics is taking the game into his own hands. Big Chaos Bolt. Gets polymorphed on the second one. Touch of Death could close it out. Unending Resolve and Iron Bark needs to be enough, but at 42% dampening, it simply may not be. There's too much damage with Gurecki adding it into the fight, and boy, I am happy to see Gurecki back on Druid. Definitely the best feral cat weaver in the world right now.
Yeah, every time I hear that he's going to be locking in that Druid, it is absolute meowsic to my ears. Now we have a tied series here. Zico, do you think this one's going to be back and forth?
I think it could very, very well be back and forth. I think maps are going to be a big factor for the boys here, and there's a lot of large maps still available in the pool for Super Frog, so this is not too bad. But this also shows Gurecki managing to get that drink is really, really key for them. Recovering a little bit of mana at this point in the game, he for sure should just be completely tapped way before Cubsy. Manages to get that drink and manages to keep his team going. And then, of course, towards the end here as well with that Touch of Death, managing to jump in, add a little bit of extra damage in that cat form and really close it out for his team. Nice performance, but it did take 42% dampening on the smallest map in the pool. This just speaks volumes to Super Frog's strength on this comp.
I don't think that there's any doubt that either of these teams are two of the best. Definitely two of the best inside of this region. The question is, we already know that they're going to be going to that global final. Who's the better team today? Who's going to win Cup number 6? We're going to find out after this. The 2 top teams in North America. Best of 7 here, folks. Let's figure out who the best team is, and then after that, let's figure out who the 4th best team is and figure out who's going to land. I'm excited to see who it is. Is it going to be Colo? Is it going to be Jamili? It's a rivalry, and it's going to be really fun. My name is Rich. I'm joined by Zico, Super Tees, and Van Ruki. Who do we think wins Game 3, Elliot?
Well, Rich, I think we're going to be going to a large map selected by the Super Frogs, and that's going to allow them to have a lot more control of the situation on that Frost Mage Warlock composition. So it is going to be the exact same setup. Actually, it's not. Super Frogs, they're actually going to be locking in the Rogue Mage
Snuts
Druid.
Rogue is back, boys.
Snuts Rogue is back. Wealthy Man on the Frost Mage, Cubsy on the Restoration Druid, and I think this is a solid pick. We've seen them play this composition in the past in the early cups against the Destruction Warlocks. The Rogue Mage Druid seemed really good. You have a lot of control. The Assassination Rogue with the low cooldown Kidney Shot stun, as well as Kick and Garrote Silence. You just have a lot of control overall. A lot of single target damage to really rip through, and it's difficult for Thugonomics. He's going to be constantly snared. It's going to be difficult for him to get in a position where he can actually take down Wealthy Man and Cubsy. What's so funny?
Is there music in your headset?
Yeah,
that I don't have?
there was for a few seconds. I just got a little distracted by it. It was good, too. It was a banger. Sorry about that. But, yeah, I thought everybody was hearing it, and I was just like... So when we do jump into Ashmane's Fall, the question is, what is the win condition going to be for both of these teams? Elliot really started to talk about it, but Zico, the TLDR, how does each of these teams attempt to grab the W?
Well, for the boys, anybody is a kill target, but I think that the mage is going to be focused a fair bit. And of course, Thugonomics are going to be looking to shut down a lot of these crowd control chains. We're going to probably see Cubsy push forward, look for the bash into the Cyclone or the bash into the Polymorphs and the Rings of Frost. And then we're going to see Snuts trying to really do a lot of kidney shots and a lot of damage in general onto Thugonomics. And that's going to be their target of choice. So one team is basically playing offense. That's going to be the Rogue Mage Druid. And one team is basically playing defense, and that's going to be the Windwalker Warlock. And the Windwalker Warlock, they have lesser but more deadly burst opportunities. So whenever they get those big burst moments, that's really when they can look to force out those ice blocks or potentially kill the Rogue or the Druid altogether.
And the question is as well, how are those big pushes going to be used? As Zico did already say, the boys going to be in a slightly defensive position. So some of those offensive capabilities, we actually may see the Infernal. We actually may see that Dark Soul. We may see those come out in trade for the Vendetta to try to ward Snuts off. That may be how Thugonomics gets defensive here. The boys want to try to take this one, but the Super Frogs have a good composition into them.
Yeah, they have a great answer in this matchup. Thugonomics is most likely going to be the target for the Super Frogs. It's going to be up to Snuts and Wealthy Man to make sure they're rotating through their stops. Snuts is going to be so disruptive on that Assassination Rogue. Gorecki, I hope he's playing the Feral Affinity in this matchup. It could be the little X factor that their team needs in order to get a little bit more damage and pressure rolling early on. Sap on a Chun-Li into a full Cyclone. Good control displayed by the Super Frogs. Thugonomics taking a little bit of burst damage. Where's Snuts, though? Can't reconnect. Finally gets on Thugonomics. He immediately trinkets out. They're looking for massive counter pressure onto Wealthy Man at the early stages of this game.
Yeah, they're trying to get that pressure there, at least try to take away one of those ice blocks. There is a lot that they do need to whittle through, and like Zico said, limited tools to do it, so they want to try to be efficient, get it started as quickly as possible. A decent trade from Cubsy, though, when he does use that Iron Bark, though. Now Wealthy Man is going to be in a little bit of a scary situation, but Cubsy can sit that CC, come out and get the healing going. It's Thugonomics who may have to use that wall early.
Yeah, could be the unending resolve. We'll just have to see what Gorecki can get done. Manages to catch a huge heal. Now it's Wealthy Man that's in trouble. Chun-Li moving forward, caught into a Polymorph. Good control from Wealthy Man once again, and that's the strategy. Wealthy Man, he controls up the game, spamming Polymorphs on Chun-Li. If he can get it on Gorecki, get some Ring of Frost or Polymorphs on Gorecki, and that's where Snuts single target damage is really going to pay dividends for the team of Super Frogs. Vendetta's rolling. Thugonomics could be in some trouble.
And there's the push right there with Snuts using that Vendetta, and you can actually see Thugonomics decides to use those offensive abilities to try to basically peel for himself, make it a less desirable trade, but no real pressure going to come out of it. Now Cubsy is going to be caught into the bash, a kick onto Wealthy Man, but Thugonomics is going to be caught into the kidney.
Yeah, and we do see Gorecki come in with a little bit of a late trinket on that blind, and the reason why was because Snuts hadn't committed his Vendetta yet. If you look at the Vendetta cooldown, it's going to be lining up perfectly here, whereas we do see Gorecki caught up in a big Cyclone here, though, taking a lot of damage. Thugonomics trying to hold on to the unending unending resolve, but it might be too late. He's popping it at very, very low HP. Together with that spell reflect, he's gonna get out some fierce onto Snuts. That drain life, the only thing keeping him alive. Unbelievable greed from the boys, but Thugonomics hangs on.
I don't even have that button bound. I have no idea how he managed to stay alive there.
Yeah, Wealthy Man was forced into his ice block, but Thugonomics, like you said, a little bit of greed, overlapping the Iron Bark with the unending resolve and almost falling. That was a surprising amount of damage that the Super Frogs had available. If you look, Wealthy Man, Icy Veins available, that major offensive 3-minute cooldown for the Super Frogs. Here's the full kidney shot. What is Wealthy Man going to be able to do? Spell lock onto Cubsy. Hugh moves forward, gets the bash onto Gorecki. Can he find the polymorph? Wealthy Man gets it. Touch of Death rolling. Wealthy Man could be in a little bit of trouble right now. There's no Iron Bark to reduce the damage. Gladiator Safeguard will proc. Still a lot of pressure on Thugonomics.
This is not great for the Super Frogs. That was a swap on the polymorph from Gorecki to Chun-Li, shutting down their offense completely. Gorecki, though, getting caught up in a cyclone. Cubsy really carrying the offense here. We see the Ice Veins activated, huge amounts of damage for Thugonomics, but we do see Gorecki potentially deflecting that one with the Iron Bark. Should be stabilizing for now, as we see Wealthy Man caught up in a fear, and now we see the pressure turning once again over onto Wealthy Man. Chun-Li going to be using that diffuse magic to get out of one of those Frost Novas, the Fist of Fury. Also nice crackling Jade Lightning there onto Cubsy to make sure that he stays in combat. Cubsy was looking to get a restuff there, potentially looking for a drink, and now we see a paralyzed double leg sweep here from Chun-Li, doing everything he can to really slow down the Super Frogs. Gorecki have the mana lead. If they can hold on to the game for a bit longer, they should be able to secure this one, Ben.
And Chun-Li, though, with just such a good sense of everything, of the tide of the game. It was in that last go, really him who was able to stave it off. He was able to make sure that Gorecki had at least enough time to get his Iron Bark back and also to slow down that onslaught of cooldowns coming in from the side of the Super Frogs. But the Super Frogs going to make sure that they know that the boys are not out of the woods yet. We're going to see constant CC going out onto Gorecki. Finally, Thugonomics going to have his offensive cooldowns now to try to out-aggress if he does need to. Thug, though, going to be caught up, can't do any damage right now, and doesn't have Chun-Li to peel for him.
Uh-oh, full kidney shot, frozen orb. It looks like Thugonomics is going to be in a lot of trouble. Gorecki does manage to catch the Iron Bark in a good position to heal him up. There's no crowd control for the Super Frogs. Unfortunately, the boys stabilize. They're looking to push in. Cubsy responds with his own Iron Bark. Now both Druids and both teams can be a little bit vulnerable without the defensive cooldown. Thugonomics has the Dark Soul rolling, looking to get some damage, but it's nuts on the Assassination Rogue. So disruptive, landing one interrupt. Does he have a follow-up? Double Mortal Coil going to be thrown out by Thugonomics to free himself up. Lands one Chaos Bolt. On to Wealthy Man, Touch of Death rolling. Chun-Li, what is he going to be able to get done? A second one. This could be the second ice block of Wealthy Man in the match. Chun-Li uses the ring piece to bounce Wealthy Man back in his range, getting more damage rolling.
I can't emphasize enough just how well Chun-Li has played so far, and the boys are relatively safe for quite a bit of time here, barring some crazy shenanigans out of the Super Frogs. The Super Frogs need to basically outlive another go. We're going to see those cooldowns coming in right now. Wealthy Man still does have that one block to rely on.
Yeah, now we see Cubsy caught up in that cycle. I'm going to trinket out of it and activate the Iron Bark onto Wealthy Man. Wealthy Man should be stable for now. Thugonomics, though, has his unending resolve available, and it's going to be that next bash onto Gorecki that really should set the Super Frogs up for a drink. I want to see them look for it as soon as possible. Cubsy goes for the restuff. Chun-Li, though, on top of it, and now we see the pressure turning. Wealthy Man looking for the polymorph on Chun-Li. Cubsy looking for the bash. Nice leg sweep onto Cubsy, trying to do a swap here, but Wealthy Man reads it with a beautiful polymorph. Now we see the spell lock secured onto Gorecki. Line of sighting Cubsy, getting that restuff off, and he's going to go ahead and dodge, and there's the bash. This is the moment. We see Wealthy Man goes for the poly, gets into... Oh, he actually lands it. Now I want to see Cubsy actually sneak away with this push and try to find a drink. Not going to be able to look for it right now. He's going to stay and go for that cycle instead, trying to take Thugonomics down through the unending resolve. Will we be able to do it, Ben?
I don't know. Now a Cyclone coming in from Cubsy to freeze any healing that Gorecki might have had. Gorecki with a beautiful bash shuts down some of that crowd control. Now kidney shot extends the CC for Super Frogs. Thugonomics still super vulnerable. Wealthy Man, the final nail in the coffin with that Gladiator's Maledict with a nice flurry into an Ice Lance. Super Frogs up in the series 2-1.
Just such a good setup there. Ultimately, this was so well played on both sides. You have tools left. A good clone low allows them a little bit more time to set some CC up on the healer before we can even see Gorecki throw out that Iron Bark. We already see a Warlock sent right back to the Twisting Nether.
Yeah, it was really, really nicely played by the Super Frogs. Their RMD looks super solid. Again, here towards the end, we see the bash onto Gorecki. They blind him up first to get the trinket, then they bash him. They get the CC chain with the polymorph, with the repolymorph, with the cyclone, swapping over the cyclone to Thugonomics. Snuts knows they don't have a bash anymore, so he's gonna go ahead and kidney shot Gorecki. And at the very, very end of that, we're gonna see another cyclone there and a triple DR cyclone as well onto Gorecki. Just a beautiful synergy across the entire team of the Super Frogs, killing Thugonomics through that unending resolve. Perfect execution.
Those were the crazy shenanigans that I was talking about. You see that they have basically everything that they need to continue playing on script, but seeing just a DR'd Cyclone be enough time to mitigate. First of all, you see the Cyclone mitigate the unending resolve. Then you throw out another one and you take away that Iron Bark. It makes it so there's no script. They light all the paper on fire. Super Tees, what do you think we see, though, coming up in the next game?